What's going on, everybody? It is boom, 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 boom. The flashpoint. It's not the college flashpoint today, guys. We're taking a different route because we're not talking college. I got a very special guest with me today, my boy Dan. Dan, will you introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Green. I'm relatively new to Heat Ratio. I do the Fantasy Firebox on Wednesdays. I have a hockey show called Flyer and Ice that I actually wrapped up about an hour ago. So I'm on double duty, but I'll do anything for my man Jamar here. And I'm just happy to be a part of your show, bud.
Hey man, listen, thank you again for being on. And again, the Heat Ratio Network is crazy. We got all these different people doing all these different shows. We work double duty. We got to get it in. We provide the content, and we're going to give you sports with the attitude. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So if you watched the trailer before the episode, you guys saw that the Eagles made a really big thing happen today. They hired a head coach. And I'm a Steelers fan, but I've been watching this very closely because of the implications it had for the AFC. Because the Colts, we all kind of thought that maybe Carson Wentz might end up with the Colts, so on and so forth, because of this quarterback OC coach that they have. So how do you feel about the hire?
I can't have an opinion from the perspective of this guy's acumen, his quality as a game caller. I'm not going to go there. I'm assuming the guy is smart and he knows his stuff. I just pray that he wasn't hired because he's going to be a puppet for the organization. I wanted a guy that had the ability to stand up to Howie if he's indeed, the rumors are true that he's indeed insisting on who's dressing. Coaches make that decision, not the GM. So if he is going to be a puppet for our front office, then I have no interest in the guy. However, I'm going to try to reverse the thinking. You know, if I'm Sirianni, I'm thinking, what are they going to do? Fire me? They can't go through coaches like socks. I would tell them what they wanted to hear at the interview, and then when the season gets rolling, I would tell Howie to go pound dirt. You're not telling me who's in my lineup, and that's what I'm hoping it will transpire, that the guy will grow some if he's indeed hired to placate the administration. But listen, when we thought it was going to be Josh McDaniel, I had pros and cons with that guy, but I at least knew that he wasn't going to take shit from anyone. So from that perspective, I was content with McDaniel, although I wasn't in love with it. Listen, I'll give the guy a chance. I just pray he's not a puppet.
I also, like I said, I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm kind of invested. My wife is a Eagles fan, so I'm invested, and
Smart
I'm way
woman.
more invested than I've been way more invested than I should be. And because I am, I've paid a lot of attention to like the quarterback, the rumor mill, and so on and so forth. So to me, from what I know about him, he played in the AFC East with the Colts. The Colts, after Andrew Luck, everything kind of went south. He kind of made lemonade out of lemons because he had an Asian quarterback in Phillip Rivers. Is he going to be prolific now? I don't know. I don't know what he comes in and does. I can't speak on that because honestly, from an offensive coordinator's perspective, from seeing what he's done so far, with what he was given this year, and I think he did pretty good. I think he did decent, and I think that's kind of what he would be coming into with the Eagles. The Eagles have a lot of positions that need to be met. They need a receiver core that's good. You need to get you got to address the offensive line issues.
You also have tons of problems.
They have tons of problems. So it's a lot of work to be done. Can he do it? Maybe. But if he can do it, then then somebody looks like a genius. I mean, if he can't do it, they look like no bigger idiots than they did when they fired Doug and whatever the case may be. So I think it's a dumpster fire.
Well, listen, they've got issues across the board, and his biggest thing to do is hire a tremendous staff, because whether you were pro Doug getting fired or not, his coaching staff was weak. They didn't develop receivers. Listen, I love Deuce Staley, the player. Perhaps you're going to go in that direction, so I'll head there now.
Go ahead.
I didn't want them to hire him. I feel bad for the man, but he's been in a room for years, and I don't want a guy that's been in that room. And if he had control of the running back rotation, I don't want a part of that either. And I don't think he's really developed running backs at a tremendous pace. I mean, Sanders came in with a great pedigree and he's a solid back, but he's made his share of mistakes and he kind of flatlined. Josh Adams, he had a chance to develop. He didn't. Corey Clement, he was good. He was a good free agent, but he wasn't outstanding. He had a great Super Bowl game, but he wasn't setting the world on fire. Boston Scott, you could say he found something in him, but I don't think he was this great running back guru developer type guy. I mean, the players respected him and liked him. So from that perspective, I'd have been okay if they hired him. I just hope for Deuce's sake that listen, enough's enough already. You got to leave the organization. I think his best route is to get a head coaching job at college, and then from there get back in the NFL. I think unfortunately the Eagles stained his reputation a bit by jerking him around all these years.
I would also agree. So today, everybody knows I'm in broadcast school. So today was kind of a big day for the Eagles. Like, we didn't find out till the afternoon/evening, but we had been talking about this, probable thing with either coming down to, but the rumors what it was coming down to Deuce and Josh McAdams, is that his name?
McDaniels.
So it's gonna come down to those two. So now hearing this other name come out of everywhere, everybody's like texting me like SRIRACHA, and I was like, SRIRACHA, like, that's what it is. So now I'm looking at the name, and I'm like, okay, this guy's, I've known him. He's been in AFC, he's been coaching. Deuce, to me personally, people are wanting to get Deuce because of nostalgia. They want that old school Eagles running game back, but Deuce doesn't give it. Just because he was a good player doesn't mean he's going to be a great coach. That's like going to get Brian Dawkins and thinking that he's going to be a great coach. That doesn't necessarily, yield anything. Sometimes the best coaches are the crappiest players. It's just because they focus so hard. They know all the technicality stuff to be a good player. They didn't have the physical ability. So what are your thoughts about anything that I just said?
Well, agree and disagree respectfully. Deuce has been a coach here for many years now. So at the very least, he's learned the coaching trade. The Dawkins analogy is Dawkins, if that was indeed Kate, you bring Dawkins in and he's coaching right away, but Deuce has paid his dues. Again, my issue with him is, I don't, if he's done most of his time under Chip Kelly and now Doug Peterson, he's been in the room. I would assume he has to have been given some feedback, some suggestions. And this offense has been so vanilla since the Super Bowl that I want a whole new regime. I really do. I feel bad for Deuce. But I think I'm not gonna judge him on his coaching intelligence. I think he's got it. I think if he went to another team and was made an offensive coordinator and they said, this is our philosophy, I think he could adjust to it. I think if the rumors are true, he was willing to break Carson's stones and tell him what needs to be done in a very demonstrative way. And I think they want a coach that's going to handle Carson with kid gloves. And I think Deuce was going to lay down the law. And I think he presented that at his interview. And that's probably not what they wanted to hear.
Well, that does speak to a lot of the rumors, though, for sure. Because if you think about it, because in my thought process, when everybody said, Peterson was out, we kept hearing, it's either Peterson or Carson Wentz, and they kind of pinned them against each other. And the whole time, Doug's like, oh no, we're going to work with him. I'm thinking to myself, like, that can't be true, because if that would have been the case, you would have done it in the year. So now it leads me to believe that I'm with you. They want somebody to handle him with care and coddle him. And the only way you can keep Carson Wentz in this city is if you give him a new regime that doesn't remember. Well, not to say they don't remember his mess ups, but he needs kind of a fresh start.
That's exactly right. I agree.
He needs a fresh start. Yeah, so he needs somebody to come in, kind of fresh eyes, fresh, attitude, maybe new schemes to kind of get him back as a reset button. Because right now, I think it's mostly, and I've been saying this for weeks, but I think it's mental. I think that right now, Carson Wentz is the Markelle Fultz of of football. And something, yeah, it's like he's not fluent. He's like not really running and using his legs. Some people say it's the scheme, but at the same time, if you got a 300-pound man running after you and I need to get out the way, I'm gonna get out the way. I don't care if you tell me I'm supposed to stay in the pocket or not. I'm getting out of the way. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I the only thing that bothers me, listen, we've heard so much stuff that you almost have to say to yourself, the truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Right.
So even if the truth is somewhere in the middle, he sounds like a stubborn man who doesn't want to listen to his coaches. His mechanics are awful. When you see film on him, he's missing reads left and right. And if he indeed sabotaged play calling by killing it just because he wanted to spite Doug, that's not cool either.
No.
So he's got, listen, the change of scenery happened with the new regime. You hit that nail on the head. But he still has some guys in the locker room that are part of the old. Not everyone's leaving,
right?
So he's got to gain. Listen, the locker room knows what it knows, and no one wants to feel uncomfortable. So he's still going to have to change his ways because you don't want to be ostracized in your own locker room, and that's kind of the path he's on, in my opinion.
And I definitely agree. And so now here we go. We're at this transitional point. And this is the transitional part of the show as well, because now we have this new regime that's going to come in, and you have two quarterbacks now, because now you have to deal with two, not one. Because had Carson Wentz had a decent year, we would only had one quarterback to talk about, but we have two. So how long do you give Carson Wentz next year? Because I'm gonna presume he's going to be the starter. Let's just be real. He's probably going to start game 1 of next year as the starter. So how long do you give him? If you say, okay, well, does he need time to learn the system? Are we going to give him that excuse? Or is it going to be we're going to say, you know what? Well, he gets 4 games to figure it out, and then we're going to move on from him. But what's the shelf life on something like that?
It's not every day you have this type of development anywhere on any team.
Right.
Anytime I can think of, truthfully. You had a guy that was on a trajectory that we thought was going to be our Aaron Rodgers, and to being the worst quarterback in the league this year. That's how bad he was. So, but the contract they gave him, they are so hamstrung by that all these fantasies of trading him, that it's not going to happen. It just would destroy the team financially. So he's supposed to be an intelligent guy. He came to this team as a rookie with barely a training camp, and then that whole Sam Bradford injury, and then Chase Daniel, you're not the starting quarterback, Carson's thrown into it, and he was fine with the offense. He picked it up really quickly. Right. So I don't see that being a problem. I think you hit it earlier. He's a head case. I don't think the intellect of learning an offense is going to be the issue. It's seeing ghosts on the field and not overreacting to a pass rush that isn't there. And when it is there, trying to be Superman and not getting rid of the ball. If he can cure those demons, and I don't know how simple or quick that's going to happen after what I just saw this year. Unfortunately, if we have almost a replay of last year, again, is this new coach going to be at the beck and call of Howie's decision? Is he going to go, I got to make a change? He just got awful after the 3rd game. You would think logically, you look at the tape last year, it's happening again this year. You got to move on from him and go back to Hurts. But again, who is he really answering to? His team or Howie?
Yep. And I think for all fan bases, I think that's the main thing. I think we're seeing so much now in the league where we're seeing coaches and GMs that are just the lines are so crossed up now. Like we saw it in Houston. They gave coach GM power, and he screwed that completely up. I mean, he couldn't have messed that up more if he tried. But we've seen it so many times with GMs and coaches where they're just messing things up. And then if you have these what is it called? Helicopter parents. These are called helicopter owners, where they set over the franchise, if you're going to hire people and put them in place, leave them in place and let them do their jobs. And if they don't do it, go back and fire. But we've gotten to a place where we've mixed the 2 jobs or the 3 jobs. We've just mixed them all in, and there's too many cooks in the kitchen. So when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, nobody can actually do anything. They can't thrive. So, in my personal opinion, when this all comes down to it, if they're gonna let is that Sirianni? If they're gonna let
Sirianni,
if they're gonna let Sirianni cook, let him cook. Get out of the kitchen, pull all the other sous chefs out, let him do his thing, and let him see what he can come up with. Because if he can get into Carson's head enough to give him 2017 again, 2017 Carson Wentz, man, I'd take him over a lot of people in the league. You get him back.
Yeah,
you get
absolutely.
him back. You get him back, you cooking with gas. Like you don't need if you can somehow find a way. And if Carson Wentz comes out and he has a great season, if he comes out, he has a great season, all will be forgotten in the city. They were forgetting about this year. 2020 will be a one-off for Carson Wentz. And he'll go back to being who he always was in the city of Philadelphia. And I think that will fix the issue for him.
No, listen, this has to be refreshing to him that someone that's connected to Frank Reich is coming on board.
Right.
So that's a bonus right there. And forgive me, we talked pre-show. I ended a show with my partner and we were talking after my other show. If I said this already, cut me off. I actually hope this guy has the courage to almost have the mentality to stand up to Howie. If, they're going to fire, they can't fire another coach. He just got, what I'm saying? So
right.
Almost like he told them what they wanted to hear at the interview, and please make up your own mind when the season gets going. That's what I truly hope. And then I'll have all the respect for the guy in the world. And again, I apologize if I repeated myself because I've had this conversation quite a bit today. No,
I think you're like everybody else. I think the football world has been watching the Eagles all year because it's been such a disaster. I think that everybody's having these conversations in the break rooms on their ride. They're listening to it in the car, like especially being in Philly, like we're in Bucks County. Like, we're having to listen to this. That's on sports talk radio. If you want to listen to anything, that's what they're talking about, either that or the Sixers. But I'm gonna transition to something else real quick, and I want your honest opinion about this. So we know that today the Steelers went out and signed DWAYNE Haskins. All right. As a Steelers fan, I'm going to take the back seat because I want to hear your opinion on this. DWAYNE Haskins just got fired from his job, basically. Just got let go, and we go pick him up. What are your thoughts?
I was never a DWAYNE Haskins fan. I think what he did with Washington was appalling. I believe everyone deserves second chances. Don't get me wrong there. I'm not saying he should never be in the league again. I'm actually shocked that a team like the Steelers that has the respect around the league with personnel decisions, drafts, and whatnot. I'm surprised. Then again, if they really believe they can have a reclamation project and make something out of this young man, then they would know more than most organizations. Because like I said, they roll out the Pro Bowlers year after year. I'm surprised though. I'm not a fan of DWAYNE Haskins. Put it this way: if the Eagles needed some depth at quarterback, I wouldn't want DWAYNE Haskins on my squad.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. I mean, I coach, so everybody knows I cover college football, so I'm not a stranger to DWAYNE Haskins. At Ohio State, he had a decent career. He only played 1 year though, so that's a lot of people. The sample size was very small for DWAYNE Haskins, and we've seen that before. If you're playing behind one of these stud quarterbacks, let's say you're behind Trevor Lawrence, you only get 1 year. Let's say you come in a year after him, you only get 1 year to stretch your stuff before the next stud comes in. So, but in this case, DWAYNE Haskins waits. He, does his time. He comes out, has a really good season. I think junior, senior season has a really good season. And I think from that particular sample size that we got, we assumed that he was better than he was. He looks the part though. Like if you look at him without throwing the football or playing football, he looks the part. He's tall, he's long. He looks like he should be athletic. However, he is not. He's another statue, kind of like a Ben Roethlisberger. So he's kind of a statue. He's statuesque, and he can't really move. So my personal opinion about DWAYNE Haskins is there was a reason why he was taken by Washington and not earlier in that draft. And remember, he was so pissed off, like, oh, I'm going to go out and prove the world. I think if he was a great quarterback, I think he held on to it. And, quarterbacks are fickle. They're really weird guys. that everything's about confidence with quarterbacks. And I think his confidence was severely damaged by being drafted 12th or whatever. But you've seen in other drafts where Deshaun Watson was taken way later than he should have went.
Absolutely.
And it did nothing but light a fire under him.
Lamar too.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson as well. So, and to Al's point right here, he's saying sit behind Ben, but he only has a 1-year contract. So what is he going to prove in 1 year if they stay with Ben? He's not going to prove anything. He's just there for more depth in case somebody gets hurt. So what are we doing? What are we saying?
Well, with a lot of these quarterbacks, and you know as well as anyone being a college expert, when you're in a powerhouse program, you can be made to look better than you really are. And I don't know where you stand on Tua. I was never a Tua fan either. I just never dug his arm strength. And in the NFL, you can see that he's afraid to make the intermediate to deep throw because he doesn't trust his arm. You can see it. Alabama, he had all day and half of tomorrow to get rid of the ball. Guys were wide open. Same thing with Haskins at Ohio State. NFL's a different animal altogether. And a lot of these quarterbacks, you can go back to Ryan Leaf, to Dwayne Haskins. Do they live in the film room? Are they willing to learn? I don't know what his study habits were. I know Ryan Leaf could give a damn about football, and that's why he floundered. If you live in the film room and are willing to be coached, and listen, like Al's saying, if you can, for 1 year, if he's mentored by Ben and listens to Ben and sits on his lap in the film room, he's going to become a better quarterback.
Right.
So from that perspective, there's hope, but look at you. Remember Jamarcus Russell?
That was the worst.
Guy could throw on his knees 90 yards, but you got to live in a film room. You have to be dedicated to your craft. And I don't know if Haskins was.
And and that's the thing. I said this about Tua myself as well from covering college so much. I've learned Tua actually had probably the top 4 wide receivers we will ever see in college football at one point. He had Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Devontae Smith, all in the same room.
Henry Ruggs,
and then he had Harris. And, he's had beasts. Like, it wasn't like this guy went into an offense that had no weapons and it was just all Tua. And
exactly.
what I think is actually more impressive, and I think I said this on another podcast. I think when you watch Jalen Hurts go from that system to go into another system, to go into an Oklahoma system and throw the ball all over the field with not as many big names. Like, you're not going to hear these Oklahoma guys, receivers that much. You're going to maybe hear D.D. Westbrook, if that's maybe him. But none of these guys are really going to be guys you hear about all the time.
CeeDee Lamb?
CD, but you can say
CD and CD.
I would say CeeDee Lamb for sure. But the only reason I won't throw CD in because CD's kind of different. He's actually he's special. He's a different guy. He kind of puts me in the mind of a Jerry Jeudy. Like he had that kind of breakaway speed for whatever reason. And they wouldn't get into that later, but for that particular part of it, I think the problems that Dwayne Haskins had, it was covered because this team was so good. Ohio State is so good. They reload. They're like your Alabamas of the world. They just reload this talent.
Well, let me ask you this question. I'll throw one at you that maybe could be analogous to a Dwayne Haskins scenario. I was having this conversation with my partner Vance on my hockey show. Vance is a tremendous, knowledgeable guy on every sport, and we were talking about Mac Jones. I'm not a Mac Jones fan either. Okay. I think he's a product of Alabama. I'm not in love with his arm strength, but my buddy Vance said, imagine him going to the Saints. That coaching staff, he'll be a serviceable, solid quarterback. Put him in the wrong system, he turns into Brandon Whedon. So, you know what I'm saying? So
that's a good analysis.
Maybe that could be said for Haskins with going to a good organization like the Steelers.
With a bunch of people.
I don't wish any kid to fail. I really don't. I hope he does succeed, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question is I could see it because you got to think about it. Steelers are known for developing wide receiver talent. They can draft in the second and third round. They still come out, looking like gold because these guys pan out. They've been whoever their scout coaches for their receivers needs a huge raise and he needs to be acknowledged because, he hasn't missed. Even back to Antonio Brown.
I'll go further back. They had a veteran Hines Ward,
Hines,
Mike
yep,
Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, and Antonio Brown all on the same team.
and Montavious Bryant.
Correct. And they just transition from one to the next to the next and the next. And they're tremendous with their finds. Tremendous. And I think Sanders was picked ahead of Antonio Brown. And Emmanuel Sanders is one of my all-time favorite receivers. I love Emmanuel Sanders. He's a consummate professional, and he's still going.
So yeah, I mean, as a Steelers fan, to talk to what John's saying, I'll take a cheap 1-year flyer on a top 15 draft pick 2 years ago, but likely to end up like Rosen. And yes, John, to your point, he's more likely to end up as a Rosen than to end up as a Cordell Stewart because he doesn't have wheels. And I'm saying that because the league is changing. The league looks different. Like your top quarterbacks can move. They're not statues. Like I watched Josh Allen in college, and I thought that he had a very high ceiling because he could move. All of these quarterbacks in this league, the ones we put so high and hold at such a high regard, they're not statues. They can get out the pocket. And that's also what we're going, like, even to the draft. If you look at the draft, like Trevor Lawrence is going to be taken number 1. And I think he's going to be taken number 1 because people didn't realize how good he could move. Like the dude, he's very athletic, like 6'6" with the long stride, and he likes to take hits. Like he's not just laying down, like he's trying to run you over, like Justin Fields. Like these guys are trying to run you over.
And they have to curb that a little bit because, injuries are inevitable, but they have to curb that. I mean, look at Justin Fields. I mean, his injury happened in the pocket, but you can't take licks like that.
Actually, no, he came because he ran out. He ran to try to get the first down, and that's when Bower hit him. Not Bower. Sowski hit him with the helmet.
Yeah,
which was a BS call, by the way.
Yeah, because he twisted, and I agree with you. That was a bad call. But yeah, you're right. Look at Herbert. He's amazing too, and he's mobile with a strong arm. And Rodgers, who had such a phenomenal year, he's just on a different level because he's just so intelligent and he's been there, done that, and he still has such a quick release. But to your point, you need the mobility, and that's going back to Carson. You pray that because he was very lumbersome out there, and I've had people tell me they still don't think he's recovered from his back injury. He's definitely, he looks slower. Let's hope an off season he can heal both the body and the mind because like you said, it's a mobile quarterback's game right now.
Yeah, he's got to move. That's what makes Carson Wentz so dangerous. I mean, let's be real. Like when Carson Wentz rolls out, Eagles fan or not, when he rolls out, everybody's holding their breath.
And that's why we were perplexed. That's why we were perplexed that they never rolled him out.
Roll him out.
Ridiculous.
You roll and like I said, the part is like that. What makes me hold my breath is for 2 reasons. One, because I kind of think he's got an injury problem. I don't know why. I think that. I just think I kind of think he's kind of fragile. And he showed us some toughness this year. He really has. But at the same time, when he rolls out, my heart stops for a little bit because I'm like, oh my God, are they going to take his knees? Are they going to hit him low? Is he going to get flipped? Like, what's going to happen? So we all hold our breath thinking that he's going to do something, roll out and make a play. And when he does, it's always like, oh man, he's back. He's back. And then when he throws an interception or he does something uncharacteristic of this great quarterback that you pay $150 million for, or however much it was over 4 years, you're looking at him like, no. But then you have other Eagles fans that are mad that Jalen Hurts is playing like a rookie. Well, he's a rookie,
right? Who
didn't have a training camp, who didn't have a lot of stuff that happened, but we're holding him at the same. How do we hold him at the same pedigree as you holding a guy you're paying $150 million to?
I agree with you. I think the issue with Hurts was more revealing of how poor the offense was because at times it looked like it did with Carson. The vanilla play calling, the lack of utilizing his abilities, his natural talents. I mean, Hurts created almost everything on his own,
right, to
be successful in a short little run that he had. But you would agree, I think, that you still have to design your offense still around the offense. You can't with the Lamar's special. I mean, you can literally say, okay, this is an absolute design quarterback run, and we're probably going to get significant yards. I don't want an offense designed around a quarterback's ability to run. I want him to be able to make plays after it breaks down.
Right.
You know, I want him to be the quarterback, engineer the plays. I mean, obviously Lamar Jackson has multiple design running plays. Those aren't broken plays. Those are designed. Those can happen occasionally. But like going back to your initial point, all these successful quarterbacks from Deshaun to Justin Herbert, they see that they go through the reads and then they run. I want the progressions to take place before the instinct to run. And I think Hurts can be coached up that way.
I do too. I think he could. I think his ceiling is really high. Like I said, I think my thing has been more with the whole quarterback controversy is that I don't want either one of the quarterbacks to lose their confidence. I don't want, them moving him around and moving, Wentz around. I think it messes with their confidence. And to Al's point, stop it. He's gotten hurt he has got hurt in 2 seasons now. I don't know if that's him saying stop it, like he is injury prone or he's not.
I'm thinking he might be insinuating you're a little too harsh on the injury topic.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna look at it, and I know this is gonna rub some Eagles fans the wrong way. So if I do, I'm sorry. I just have to be real. Carson Wentz has played in only 1 playoff game. He's actually played in 1 playoff game, and he actually didn't finish the game. And he was injured. It was a nasty hit, dirty hit. I get it. I understand the hit was dirty. I'm not saying the hit wasn't dirty, but I'm saying that for whatever reason, are they targeting Carson Wentz or are things just happening? He's just having really bad luck because anybody else we would be saying has an injury problem.
No. Listen, it's a combination of everything. There's no doubt he's had significant injuries. I mean, his rookie year, he broke a rib in preseason. His second year, 13th game, he tore his ACL. Midway through the following year, he had a fracture in his back.
Right.
Then he fought through it all. Listen, the one injury that every quarterback's going to be knocked out with that hit he took in the Seattle game. Right. That was just like you said, a vicious 30 hit. So I can't hold that one against him. I mean, he was, and let's face it, for all the people that were in love with Nick Foles, we should have kept Nick Foles over Carson Wentz. He's crapped the bed since he's left, and he's always injured. He's injury prone. He just listen. We had a magical few games essentially with Nick Foles. Let's set the record straight here. I don't want to go off on that tangent, but
no, I think it needs to be said. I mean, yeah, we're all saying okay, this is the situation, but I think with a city like Philly, with a city like Philadelphia, where there's so much pride in the football team, it's pride. I mean, at the end of the day, I gotta respect it because being a Steelers fan, being in this city, you can't help but kind of say, you know what, I like their passion.
Well, they're the two best cities. Bingo. They travel the best. Those 2 teams, Steelers and Eagles fans, travel the best. You got 2 markets that are equally passionate. I agree with you 100%.
But it also makes it equally hard to play there because they want to win. They're so passionate. They want to win. They want to they want to have a successful season every year. And if they can't get the successful season, if they don't have the personnel, that's one thing. But they don't like to beat themselves. And I think that's the difference. And, when you got a quarterback like Carson Wentz and he's got all this, natural talent, like the great arm, he can move. He's supposed to be very cerebral and smart with his plays and all this good stuff. And we had that great size in 2017, that sample size that people haven't forgot about. That guy's still in there somewhere. And like I said, I don't know if the Monstars came and took his talent and, they won't give it back to him until Michael Jordan comes and saves him or LeBron James. But somebody has got to find out where the Monstars did with his talent and his confidence. And if it was Doug who, killed it, then, he's gone now. So he'll get a fresh start. And if it isn't Doug, and then we find out it is Carson, where do we go from here? Because the same fans that are protecting him, I want those same fans to keep that same energy and say, okay, well, it's time to part ways with dude or figure out what to do with him because he's going to be a very expensive paperweight on the bench. So that is all I'm saying.
Now you're right. It's everyone sees the light at their own time. I was a staunch defender of Carson for a long time. And then that epiphany happened in my head where I'm like, dude, he's just bad. I can't defend him anymore. You can't do what he's doing. It's just god awful. It's just bad. So I have to believe it's mental more than anything. I pray to God it's the equivalent of a golfer that went from making 6-foot putts to missing 3-foot putts out of the blue. You know, let's hope he gets it back, because, like you said, if not, we'll have even more to talk about. So,
And yeah, and Al,
good for business, bad for fandom.
It is. And just to Al's point real quick before we go, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's a great year, man. Listen, it's a great year. And there's more good years than bad ones. But we need more of a sample size. I wasn't a fan of the extension. I wasn't a fan of the extension because it confused me. There was a lot of confusing things in the last couple of years from the Eagles. And that could be front office stuff. But you don't go out and give this guy this huge extension, and then you go and find a quarterback in the second round. You just don't do it. And it's either one or two things. And I've been saying this for years, but it's either you don't believe he's going to stay healthy, so he needs an insurance plan, or you were thinking about moving on from him if something went down. So I don't know. It's been the most confusing. Nobody can answer that.
No, I think yes to both your points. He, whether you like it or not, whether it's a cheap shot or attrition with its back building up and getting bad, who knows how many hits or weight room workouts caused the back problem to happen eventually. But he's got the injury side. So yes, you need the insurance policy. And I don't want to hear, listen, he was not good the previous year either. I don't want to hear about the last 4 games they were on his back and he rode them into the playoff. They played all the NFC East teams that sucked. And before that, he was not so great. He was just mediocre. He wasn't awful, but he wasn't great. So his 2019 year wasn't great shakes either. And I think they saw that. So I think yes to the point that I think they saw after the extension, oh crap, he's still not wowing us the way we thought he would. And he's injury prone. So I think a combination of both. I still hated the pick. I still would go back in time and not do it. Even though Hurts impressed me at times, I hated that pick. I was apoplectic for I still get angry talking about it. Jeremy Chin's on the board. Are you kidding me? Denzel Mims is still on the board. Are you kidding me? I still can't deal with that pick.
Don't forget Justin Jefferson was on the pick for Ray.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. A 12-year-old 5th grader, 6th grader knew to pick Justin Jefferson. I don't even go there. But I'm talking about when Hurts was selected. I was floored that they picked him. Listen. I don't think listen. You could have gotten an insurance policy in the 3rd or 4th round, not named Clayton Thorson of this particular draft. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, we have them on a team now because of their ignorance, and now we have to basically develop 2 quarterbacks. Or if Carson somehow finds it, we have an asset potentially to trade, because you can't have them both long term.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, and I've been saying that for a while too. I've been saying that this was good for the Eagles. As bad as tumultuous as it sounds, it was bad. It was good for the Eagles because
he's easy to trade.
Yeah, he's now he has some value when you really don't have a whole lot of value on the team. I mean, really, like, this is going to be a rebuild, and a lot of guys are going to get mad at me for saying this, but this season is going to be a rebuild, and you could have a completely good Carson Wentz. But how many people do you have to throw to? He doesn't have a whole lot. So it's really up to this draft. And it's really looking like this 6th pick is going to be major. And it's going to say a lot about the organization going forward. If they don't pick somebody with the 6th pick that has some type of value and is, a decent weapon, then they're going to be looking at was it when you break a mirror, it's 7 years bad luck? It's going to be 7 years bad luck, because you can't keep wasting these top picks on players that don't pan out and expecting the program to be successful. It just won't.
Well, when they've been this high, they've been successful. Real fast, Al. I love you, Al. 2019, he did not have a good year. It wasn't an awful year, but it was not a great year. So I think he's addressing me. Al's showing it. That's fine. I love and respect Al. He's got a phenomenal show, but I don't think Carson had a great 2019. I'll stand by that. But getting back to your point, the last time they've drafted this high. Obviously, you traded up for Carson, and at the time, you thought you had a home run with him. We've referenced 2017 a lot, and they had Lane Johnson in the top. I think was it third pick overall the year they took him. So they've hit there, and the real question is, are they going to go a Jamar Chase or Smith, or are they going to go Surtain at cornerback, something like that, or and kind of my fear is, or do you trade out of that spot to get more assets, and that's where he's going to screw up the picks, So that's the ultimate question. Are they going to stay there and take a great corner, a great receiver, or move out of that spot?
I just really feel like right now, in my heart of hearts, if I'm going back to something, you guys need receivers. If he has nobody to throw the ball to, if he doesn't have, honestly, we can talk about the offensive line all day long. He can have 100 years back there, and if there's nobody open, there's nobody open. And I just think that with the receivers, the receiving core that they got, you got Fulgham, we got
Fulgham,
Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, we listen. And J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was a wasted pick. So we got problems on our hands. But I also say this, and I've had this. If the Eagles had Deontay Johnson, Jamar, I'm drawing a blank. The Notre Dame kid.
Oh, Claypool.
Yeah, you had Deontay Johnson, Claypool, and Juju on this team with this coaching staff. Would they be as good as they are with Pittsburgh? Probably not. Not nearly as bad as they would be, but they wouldn't be as good as they are with Pittsburgh. And if you had Rieger, Whiteside on the Pittsburgh coaching staff, would they be perhaps better than they look with the Eagles?
Maybe.
So I pray that a new coaching regime could coach these kids up.
I do. You hit a really cool point. I never thought about it like that. That is the development.
It is the development.
We've watched, we watched Aguilar. We watched him go and be successful with the Raiders. And they kept saying he couldn't catch, or he wasn't catching on, or whatever. He dropped a lot of balls, but they go somewhere else and they're doing it. And one of my friends who's a quarterback coach says, the thing when a quarterback and a receiver can't, connect sometimes, it's sometimes about the style of the ball that's thrown. Like sometimes it's touch. It's hard to catch those heat seekers when you're at close proximity sometimes. And we've seen, this year, a lot of quarterbacks overthrow their targets. This hasn't been as accurate as a year as you would think. Like, there's a couple players that are really, balling out. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. But what's called having a breakout year at Josh Allen. But there hasn't been a whole lot of great quarterback play. It's been a lot of development. And I think that's where we're at now.
Well, I get it to some extent. Like I've seen games where Deshaun Watson, who was electrifying this year at times, I've seen him miss checkdowns brutally. They all do it, except for Baker Mayfield had a quarterback, a game manager. I say this with Tony all the time. Baker Mayfield is a game manager with pizzazz. I saw him miss a wide open Austin Hooper by 8 feet in the back of the end zone, wide open in the game not too long ago. So yeah, they all do it. But at the rate that Carson was doing it this year, I haven't seen anything like it as prolifically bad. And getting back to Nelson Aguilar, he needed a change. He was like a roller coaster ride with the Eagles. He had a very good solid Super Bowl season. He was terrific in the playoff. He was terrific in the Super Bowl. But the year before, the year after, he was just awful. And it was here. He would go up for ball. My neighbor, who I watch football with all the time, he would look like a puppet, like someone was pulling on the strings. The way he would go after balls, like he had two left hands going. And listen, I've seen him look silly with the Raiders. You can't coach speed. He's got speed. He probably has really good coaching where the route running improved. He got open more, but he still looked awkward at times catching the ball, and he had a share of drops, but he had plenty of explosive plays because that's kind of how they ran their offense too.
Right. I'm gonna end on this, and I'm gonna give you this question, and I'm gonna let you get on with your night. So I haven't been this excited for an offseason in a really long time. You know, I'm excited. I want to see how all the pieces move. You know, we talked about Deshaun Watson a little bit. We've talked about him moving around, the probability of all these, you know, chess pieces all moving on the board. And a lot of these big names going to be maybe looking in different, you know, jerseys this year or next year coming up. What is the thing that you think is going to happen? If I give you a crystal ball to look in, what do you think is going to be the outcome of some of these changes?
But if you give me a crystal ball, I'm playing the lottery and you're not going to see me again. But
True.
Okay, I know. Anyway.
Unless you get my cut. I need my cut.
Absolutely, because it's your crystal ball. So I think, listen, I want to dispel the whole Carson Wentz rumors to the Colts. I heard a reporter today on one of the stations I listened to, a beat writer for Indianapolis, and his people say they've never had an interest in Carson Wentz. They're actually targeting Sam Darnold or Matt Stafford. And I love Matt Stafford. I've told people this 1,000 times that he is the Archie Manning of modern day football, a great quarterback that's just always been on a crappy team. And I think, could you see Matt Stafford on the Colts? I think that would be a terrific fit.
I don't really think the Colts are that good. I know they seem good. They have a pretty decent record, but like when you look and match them up against a lot of teams in the AFC, I don't think they look all that great. But that's just my opinion. They
have a solid defense and they have great running backs, and then everything can build off of play action, and yeah, you know do you believe in Zach Pascal?
I like some of the guys on the team.
I mean, T.Y.'s getting old,
right?
And you have Zach Pascal, and I'm drawing the blank on the other outside guy. So if you don't believe in their wide receiver, I'm drawing a blank. If you don't believe in their wide receivers, you have to believe in their running backs. You have to believe in their coaching staff, and they have a solid defense.
Well, they just lost their OC now, so
yeah. Well, you know, there's always someone to replace somebody.
True enough,
right? So, you know, maybe the quarterback coach, the assistant offensive coordinator. They again, the term I use, they're all in the same room, right?
Right.
And that was my issue with Deuce. He's been in that room for years. So I just wanted all new people with the Eagles. So I'm sure Frank Reich will hire someone competent.
So I think, in my personal opinion, and like somebody can tell
Al. Look at Al's.
Listen, his crystal ball pick, I think, is probably more probable. I think Watson's moving somewhere. I just don't know where. Just don't know where. I don't know where he's going. He's got to leave Houston. That situation is truly volatile. He's not going to have any type of success there, and that relationship is well past fracture. It's a clean break at this point. There's just been too much dishonesty going back to before the DeAndre Hopkins trade. I don't know if you guys remember this a couple years back, because I've been following for quite some time. But the guy, like the stuff that O'Brien was saying, like even when not Black Lives Matter, but the protest stuff started, it was just like, you know, you're not gonna let the inmates run the asylum or something. It's just like there's been kind of like bad stuff happening with the Texans for a long time. I don't think JJ Watt is happy there. I don't think Deshaun Watson is happy there. Clearly, DeAndre Hopkins was glad to be out of there. And that's, you know, to be honest, like, do I think Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson are equal? I don't think so, but he was much happier to go somewhere where at least he had a shot. So I think, I'm with Al. I think I don't know if he ends up at Miami, but I do know he leaves.
Well, so you don't think Matt Stafford's going to leave Detroit?
I think he will leave Detroit. And that's my honest opinion. I think he will leave because I don't think they believe in him, but I don't know why. Like you said, I think he's way better than what people give him credit for. And also, like, they don't have a lot anyway. So anywhere he goes will be a going up because they've been so up and down. They haven't really had a great season ever. So maybe putting him on like, I'm not saying the Jets. I'm not saying. I mean, I know they're going to get a second pick.
You cannot do that to that man. You can't go from Detroit to the Jets. That just wouldn't be fair.
I know. It happened to Archie Manning, though. We just said it. Like,
yeah. Well, Archie went from New Orleans to Houston, but he was way past his prime.
Yeah. So, I mean.
No, but listen, Al's right. Deshaun's going somewhere. I mean, listen, he's got a no trade clause, I think, too. So in a way, he could, if they want to trade him to the Jets because of the Jets slot, he might nix that trade because he doesn't want to play for the Jets. Because does he want to play? Does he want to go somewhere and win?
Right.
I would think he has a much better chance in Miami. So I hope he gets his wish and gets to Miami because I think Miami's building something too. I like Brian Flores. I like their weapons.
Do you think they trade him for Tua? Do you think that he's in?
I think absolutely.
I think so too. I think that's the only way that the Houston will be okay with the trade. They got to get something, and I just don't think Tua is who everybody thought he was. I think we were. No. I think we were really enamored by the comeback in the national championship. I think we were really enamored by that, and we've kind of seen him, kind of be, human, very human at sometimes. So if he does have a great season, like he's only 1 year off of a serious hip injury. So that could be a part of it in his mechanics and his strength.
You're right. Fair enough.
So he could be that, but and I think Deshaun Watson also wants to play for Brian Flores. I think he believes in him.
No, and, I like that. I hope Al's right. I would love to see him in Miami. I think that'd be great for football.
Well, man, I'm not gonna take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for coming on.
Now it's a blast. Again, anytime.
Give everybody your @. Like, give everybody where they can find you. I know you're on the Heat Ratio Network with us, but give people a little bit of where they can find you and all that good stuff.
I'm at DMG Teach on Twitter every Thursday night. If the Flyers play at 7, I'm on at 5:30. If the Flyers are off that night, we're on at 7:15. I'm on Fantasy Firebox with the great John Coker, with Jason Sullivan and Tony Cotillo every Wednesday. And I'll be happy to help you out anytime you want. It was an absolute blast tonight.
All right, thank you. And guys, please go listen. Go listen. I'm not a hockey guy, but I am learning. I'm learning so much more being in this cold place that I'm at in Philadelphia. I'm learning a lot about hockey. It's a good time. And if you do follow hockey, please, guys, go listen to him. He's got it. He's got it going on. All right, man. Till next time, buddy.
All right,
I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you.
All right. So, guys, real quick, just to wrap it up, this was a bonus episode. It's not going to go as long as our regular episodes, but I wanted to get out here and put this information out, pick everybody's mind. I know everybody has a lot to say about the current situation with the Eagles and the new pickups and the new acquisition. So, I want anybody that has anything to say, get in the comments, hit me up, DM me, Twitter me, hit me up. Everything, all my socials are down at the bottom. And if you guys don't have anything else, man, we'll talk next time. Deuces.